Hello, hi, good afternoon. Am I audible? Am I audible? All right. So a very good afternoon once again. And today I'll be continuing our discussion. In the last discussion, we had seen for the JEE 2025 attempts for the particularly for 5 days, whatever 10 question paper were conducted. In the previous videos, I had a detailed discussion about the percentile versus the marks range, right? And I'm sure by now you all must have analyzed at least a quick understanding at your end what is gonna be your JEE score in 2025. And many of you are at a stage where you are having little bit doubts or a confusion that should we really focus on JEE Main now, or we should switch our focus completely for JEE Advanced, or maybe there is one more cohort which is present in this discussion today, is that the students those who could not do well in JEE Main, and equally they are writing their board examinations as well. So in this today's discussion, I will be dealing with all the three cohorts. One, the student those who are done with their JEE Main and they are already done with their board exams. So for them only the best possible aspect remains to start an exclusive preparation for JEE Advanced. The second cohort, the student those who are in class 12 and they are done with a good attempt of JEE Main, expecting 130, 140 or maybe above that. So for them, we will be discussing what should be the roadmap for the JEE Main and as well as for your board examination. And there is one cohort where some of you could not perform well in the JEE Main exam, but also you are equally concerned about your board examination now, right? So in this third category, I would definitely recommend, highly recommend with each one of you, for all of you, that this is the time where you invite your board preparation first and then later on slowly and steadily adopt the JEE Main preparation, right? I'll not suggest you to get into the JEE Advanced preparation at moment, but those who are done with the JEE Main attempt and have scored, considerably good score, and they are also writing the board examination, for them I would definitely suggest that you need to balance out your day in a way that you give an exclusive time for your JEE Main and as well as for the board examination, right? Because I would say the peer pressure of board examination would be on your head in a way that there is an atmospheric pressure on your head. When we are sitting in a space, there is atmospheric pressure. You can ignore it, but you can't minimize it, isn't it? So in the similar way, those who are writing board examination, other than your NEET preparation or JEE preparation, definitely you need to balance out your day so that each day is making a contribution either for your JEE, also for the board examination, right? So let us first understand what you will be getting after this discussion today. So first thing I will be talking about those who are done with the JEE Main and they wanted to have an equal preparation for board examination also. So as I mentioned, for this category of student, there are two possible cohort. One, those who are done with the JEE Main with considerably good score, they can manage, they can plan out their day in a way where they are giving equal importance for JEE Main versus JEE Advanced. I would rather suggest to stay focused for JEE Main preparation for now, so that you are not switching your efforts, your day schedule, your pattern of examination abruptly, because JEE Advanced altogether I'll be talking how the pattern and everything is all about, right? And also the board. Second thing, what we'll be talking about, understanding advance, what makes it different. There are lots of talks, you people might have searched so many videos, you might have seen so many videos where somebody will come and will say ki this is one of the toughest exam. Somebody will come and will say that you just score 40% and one seat in IIT is confirmed, right? And that is fairly a good statement, but we can ask a counter question, that is it too easy to score 40% marks in JEE Advanced? Because if I'll tell you a stat, out of 14.7 lakh student, I'm talking about last year, this year the count was around 3.7 lakh student, those who appeared in JEE Main, hardly 5 to 7,000 students come in the category who score 40% and above, right? So there are lots of says about this exam. So we will be actually understanding today what makes this exam different, right? Either from preparation point of view, or from understanding point of view, or maybe in terms of how do you plan out your preparation. There are lots of things which you need to figure out. Know the competition. It is equally important for each one of you to understand that when you are a part of any competitive examination, until unless you don't know what are the needs of that particular exam, the final destination always remains little bit, dusty. Because at the end of day, you need to also understand that once you are done with that particular exam, and also at the same time you are comparing that what had been the cutoff in the previous year, the journey remains very realistic. So today we'll be talking about what is the competition, and we'll be looking into some data of maybe last year or last to last year to understand it in much better way. Perception about JEE exam, right? As we all know that we live in lots of perceptions, and when it comes to exam, the perception seems to be very realistic. If I ask you, how many of you say that JEE Advanced is one of the toughest exam? I think many of you will agree on this, isn't it? But we will actually understand what is the perception about JEE Main. Is it tough or it is a most competitive exam? We'll try to figure it out. We'll see must to do topics. I think nowadays there are lots of things which you keep referring. Either it is JEE Main and in JEE Advanced, and in my previous video I have spoken about it, that this year JEE Main pattern have actually proven that giving the weightage to high, giving the priority to high weightage topics sometimes remains a myth. It's not the reality, right? Can it happen in JEE Advanced? We'll see, right? Because there will be a corner in your mind where you always expect someone to come and to tell you that, sir, can you suggest me what are the high weightage topics in physics, chemistry and mathematics? But is it the right strategy to follow specifically as far as preparation is concerned? Then we'll be talking about the best material. What can be the best integration of your books, of your notes during this last phase of JEE Main, JEE Advanced preparation? Because there are n number of books, n number of reference books, n number of numericals which exist in this universe, and which also claims that if you solve this, you will be very close to the JEE Advanced, exam. But we will see what is the best strategy, what best material we need to follow in this last phase of preparation. Last but not the least, I'll try to talk about the winning formula. And when I say winning formula, I really mean to it by telling you an objective, a mathematical calculation behind it, right? I'll not be telling you that winning formula means you do 6 to 7 hour study on a daily basis, read all the assigned modules, solve all the questions, write so many mock tests. That is a part of the process. But at the end of the day, you need to understand what are the mathematics, right? What are the factors behind getting a seat into IIT, NITs, triple ITs, or for that matter, government funded engineering colleges, right? So I'll be talking on these pointers largely today, right? So let's start first of all. So when we talk about understanding advance, what makes it different? So far, what preparation you all have been doing, you all were living in a, kind of preparation, kind of theory, kind of questions where there is a question and there were 4 options, isn't it? And your approach was only and only to get the right answer. Imagine there is a question, there are 4 options, you are following the right steps, you are using some sort of formulas, you are doing all the stuff, calculation and everything, and finally you approach the right answer. You will really not mind what is the contribution of remaining 3 options, isn't it? That has been the journey which you are living till today. But when it comes to advance, you really need to give a pause over here, because you are going to face the questions where other than one option, there are some more options which could be the correct answer, right? So first thing, you will all need to understand the pattern of the question. So in JEE Advanced, you are all going to face multiple choice, you are going to face integer type, and also you are going to face matrix and matching questions, isn't it? So switching from a question and 4 option to this pattern will actually take time. You give a pause and think, so far how many such questions you might have dealt with. The answer could be very, very narrow, isn't it? Maybe in a day you are solving, let's say, 30 to 40 questions per subject. Just tell me, out of those 30 to 40 questions, how many questions comes in this category? Multiple choice, integer type, or matrix matching? The answer could be either not a single question or could be hardly some time. Maybe when you are writing JEE Advanced pattern question paper, that is the day, that are the moments where you explore all this possibility, right? So first thing is, you all need to understand that pattern of the questions gonna be like this. Now onward, if you are specifically preparing for JEE Advanced, you need to replace the entire thought process by inviting these 3 patterns at least, right? So this is one thing which you all need to keep in mind, the pattern of the question. Second, types of question. When I say types of question, you don't need to get confused that, sir, is it the similar one what you have mentioned above? No. I'm not going to talk about types of question like multiple choice, integer type, or matrix matching. Rather, I am going to talk about, so far whatever questions you have dealt with, they were a mix of theory plus formulas, or maybe standard result, isn't it? That is the life you have been living till today. But when it comes to advance, you will majorly find 2 varieties of question. One, fusion of multiple concept. There will be a question, there will be a problem statement, and they'll try to integrate other possibilities as well. Or second possibility will be fusion of high order mathematics. Fusion of high order mathematics. These are the 2 elements which you need to adopt now in your day-to-day practice. For JEE Advanced, at a larger scale, you will find question from these 2 categories. Fusion of multiple concepts. For example, if you refer JEE Advanced 2024 Shift 1 question paper, there was a question where there were 4 parallel plates separated by a distance d with a, and these were square plates of having side A, d was very, very less than A, and they have given 4 possibility. The first possibility was find C equivalent between C1 and C4 when C2 and C3 are interconnected. Find C equivalent between C1 and C4 when C2 and C3 are shorted. Find C equivalent between C1 and C3 when C2 and C4 are shorted. Right? There are multiple possibilities. So let's not deal it as a question. Try to understand that in a given question, what are the best possible ways to figure it out. And throughout my discussion, I'll try to emphasize on one thing, that JEE Advanced is just not only a game of solving difficult questions. JEE Advanced is not only a game of solving complex questions or solving so many mock test papers. It is equally a game of where you take a question, solve it, and try to figure out what are the other possibilities which can be figured it out from the similar question, right? So what I'm saying, the question which I just took was asked in JEE Advanced 2024. On the contrast, if I'll talk about another question, let's say, there was one more question where there were 2 plates, parallel plates capacitor, and the dielectric was varying in this method. So this side, it was D1, it was D2. This is how the dielectric which was filled between the plates of the capacitor was varying, and they asked what is the C equivalent. This side was A, this side was B. I know this question could be very complex to you, but the reason behind the toughness of this question is not physics. It's mathematics, isn't it? The higher order integration involved in this question makes this question very difficult. So what I'm trying to say, now slowly and distantly you all need to switch your understanding that how to deal with fusion of multiple concepts. As I said, just a question, how to deal with higher order mathematics, as just I have given you an example. So somewhere in your day-to-day life, you need to welcome these two things in your schedule, that we are nowhere inviting single option correct. Rather, let's give a focus on fusion of multiple concepts. Start playing with kinematics being in gravitation. For example, I have given you a problem statement that I have projected a ball, or let's say I have dropped a ball from a certain height h. Calculate the time it will take to hit the ground. Now the moment you will listen this question, you will suddenly jump into equation of motion, isn't it? But I have given you a condition that you are not supposed to use equation of motion. Calculate how much time it will take to hit the ground. Getting my point? So it is also welcoming that how do you play with kinematics being in gravitation. Getting my point? So JEE Advanced is not about solving the difficult question. It's not about solving so many mock test paper. Rather, it's a process where you involve into a deep understanding, a deep learning of a particular subject. There is a question, it can give you a framework that this was the question which was asked in JEE Advanced 2022 or 2023. But what are the further possibilities? Isn't it? So I would say when we talk about types of question, you should welcome these two categories, fusion of multiple concepts and fusion of higher order mathematics, right? Third thing, negative marking. This is the exam where what is gonna be the negative marking pattern will be released on the day of exam, right? Some surprises they keep for you for the day of exam, and this is one of them, isn't it? So what I'm saying, negative marking, sometimes in paper 1 they say no negative marking, but in paper 2 flat 50% discount, right? So what I'm trying to say, when it comes to negative marking, this keep varying year on year. Sometimes they'll keep +3 -1, sometimes they'll keep +2 +4 -2, right? So it depends. And when you are being explored for that particular exam where you are supposed to write 2 papers in a day, once you are done with paper 1, you need to replicate the same energy, the same preparation, the same presence of your mind in paper 2 as well, with keeping such surprise in front. So this is also one pattern which you need to adopt, and you need to build a pattern in your mind, in your day schedule while preparing for JEE Advanced, that you take utmost care for the negative marking. Sooner I'll show you the data where I'll tell you what is the loss of making one question wrongly attempt. Sometimes as a student you approach your teacher and say, sir, sorry, it was a silly mistake. But I'll tell you how that silly mistake result into a blunder. It might push you back, it might push you out of the competition. I'll show you the data, right? So negative marking is also one of the things which you need to take utmost care. Last but not the least, subject wise cutoff. This remains one of the interesting aspect of this exam, because if you see the history of physics and mathematics, they both acts very gently, right? But when it comes to chemistry, sometimes it comes in the actual shape, or sometimes physics and mathematics keeps playing with you all in the exam, whereas chemistry will say, gentlemen, spend time with me and I'll give you good marks. So this keep happening, right? You need to understand that first priority should be to clear subject wise cutoff, because JEE Advanced, as I said, if your target is to have a 40% score, in this 40% score, the target is not only to get the absolute percentage, it is also matters how much you score in paper 1, that too in physics, chemistry, math, and so also in paper 2, considering you clear the cutoff of each paper of each subject, right? So that is also equally important. So I would say these are the 4 important parameters which makes this exam as one of the competitive exam and different from JEE Main, right? So pattern of the questions, type of question, negative marking, and subject wise cutoff. Let's proceed further. So before we proceed further, let me tell you the level of competition and the number of seats which are there for you. So as we know, this year if I talk about, almost 13.5 lakh students have appeared in JEE, and they are fighting for almost 17,385 seats in JEE. There could be some substantial change in this number since I have taken it from the most possible available data. When we talk about NIT, the total number of seats are available 23,190 in total, 31 NITs. This plus this and also some other government funded colleges through state specific exams and other things. I'll show you what are the number of seats which are available, so that back of the mind you are clear that you are a part of a peer competition. So when we talk about the number of seats, there's a very important stats which you should know. If you talk about IITs, almost 17,740, NITs 24,229, and triple ITs, most of the triple ITs give an intake through JEE Main, but some triple ITs, let's say triple IT Hyderabad, they have their own exam as well called UGEE, right? So these are the number of seats. It will give you a fair idea that based on your JEE Main score, which college you can actually target for, right? If your aspiration is absolutely for JEE Advanced, definitely you should know what are the number of seats, what are the number of colleges which I can go through. When you sum up all these number of seats, the count comes around 1,07,247 almost, right? So these 14 lakh aspirant in JEE Main are actually fighting for these many number of seats, right? So I'll tell you the further stats also, but this will give you a fair idea about IITs, NIT, Triple IT, IST, Triple IT, BITS, Plani, MIT, VIT, SRM, and so many colleges, right? So you should have a fair idea so that you can prepare accordingly. So first of all, let us understand the perception about JEE exam. I'm talking about a very realistic data of last year. So last year, 14,76,557 students have appeared in JEE Main. Against that, these many students have actually appeared in the exam. These are the registrations. If you see the qualifying for JEE Advanced, the count was 2,50,284, which is 16.9%. This is the first filtration which has already happened in the January attempt. When I say filtration, it's like that how many students have appeared in the exam and how many are eligible for JEE Advanced, right? This is the total sum considering your January as well as April attempt, right? This was the cutoff and the percentile at 120. This was the percentile. This was the least percentile, and to make it clear, this was the least score, 120 out of 300, right? Out of this 2,50,000 students, only 1,86,584 students have registered for JEE Advanced. You might see it's a gap of almost 60,000, right? 60,000 students, despite they have qualified for JEE, are not getting registered for JEE Advanced. Right? The reasons can be multiple. In this, the one possible cohort can be there are some NEET aspirant who actually wanted to see their performance in physics and chemistry before they write actual NEET, right? Because JEE Main, NEET, both are being conducted by NTA. The boundaries remain somewhere within the NCERT. So they actually come forward, they write this exam. Before they write the final NEET exam, they actually wanted to see that where do I stand in terms of physics and chemistry. So a good percentage of students come from that category. Second possible cohort, like the student, those who are very specific that I wanted to, go for VIT, SRM, or through KSET, or through WB, JEE, or through MST, CET, whatsoever it is, right? They are very specific that considering the state specific quota, I'll get a seat in the state engineering colleges, then they prefer not to go forward for the JEE Advanced. So there are multiple cohorts which are possible, and that's the reason they doesn't come forward. Out of this 1,86,584 registered student, 1,80,200 student appeared in JEE Advanced, and out of that 48,248 were given All India rank, which makes around 25.8% of this number, right? When you see that starting from 14.7 lakh, the final count where the AIR is being given, the count comes 48,248. So from a competition point of view, you can see that actually getting from this count to this count should not be your challenge, because it asks 120 marks out of 300, and 120 marks is a contribution of, let's say, 40 marks in physics, 40 marks in chemistry, 40 marks in mathematics, or whatsoever best combination work for you. If you are good at mathematics, though this year this will be really a contradictory saying that you are good at mathematics, because the way maths have responded, right, in JEE exams, in all this shift, I think you will have this goosebumps that, sir, whatever you are talking, it's not really making sense, isn't it? So what I'm saying, whatever best combination work for you, go for it. But this is how the random distribution, what I'm saying, and this is what is the minimum thing is required, right? Coming to the final selection, 48,248, and the last seat which was offered was at 109 marks. It means at 30%. And if you remember, in the beginning of this session, I was talking about 40%, right? So that is the reason there are lots of talks that if you score 40%, you will get a seat in some IITs or NITs, and that's true. But you need 40%. As I said, not only the pattern, the types of question, the negative marking, and to clear each subject cutoff remains the beautiful aspect of this exam. But I'm sure by seeing this data, you got a little bit confidence that if you really wanted to make into advance, this is what has happened last year. Year on year, the percentage keeps vary slightly, but it doesn't change abruptly, right? So you can somewhere fit yourself into this. If you talk about, so as per the sequence, must to do topics. So as I keep talking on all these parameters largely, that before the exam, there is always, amazing search happening on Google that please suggest high weightage topic in physics, chemistry, and mathematics, right? And that's good for that matter, that if you wanted to really give a focus, if you are good at one topic and that topic has a good weightage, there is no harm in giving more preference to that. But what I'm trying to say, I'm showing you 14-year analysis of JEE Main versus 17-year analysis of JEE Advanced. The reason of showing this analysis is so that you can understand that what another switch you need to take in terms of your subject understanding. Let's start with physics. In physics, and this 14-year analysis include all the shifts, all the particular dates wherever JEE Main was conducted, right? So that is the reason you might see the number of questions are very high. That doesn't mean you will simply divide 250 divided by 14. No, that's not the right calculation, because in a particular year, there are 10 question papers. Each question paper has 30 questions. So you can see the number of questions accordingly, right? Current electricity so far in 14 year, 250 questions have been framed. But can you see the position of this chapter in JEE Advanced? The chapter lies here. And what could be the reason? The only possible reason is, in JEE Advanced, when you do the deep understanding, you will always find the questions getting framed from a topics where multiple concepts immersion is possible. For that matter, let me talk about a chapter which is one of your favorite chapter, rotational motion. Isn't it? You love this topic. Imagine if this is not the reality, imagine, right, that you love this topic. Anyway, this data will push you to get in, connect with this topic at a larger scale now. If you see the system of particle and rotation, the number of questions have been asked, the count is abruptly high compared to other topics. That's 57 in 17 years, right? And it's not only about the number of topics, it's equally the types of questions, the difficulty level of question. This topic always hits on the top, right? If you see in JEE Main, it also contribute. So what I'm saying, framing a question from motion in a straight line, motion in a plane, laws of motion, work energy power, or center of mass, This all beautiful integration can actually takes place in rotational dynamics. So when it comes to the concrete competition, a peer competition, they would prefer to frame out the questions from such a topic where previous topic can be immersed. Are you getting my point? So that is the reason whatever topics you will see, ray optics has a beautiful immersion of so many previous topics, right? Thermodynamics, right, has a beautiful immersion of simple harmonic motion, kinematics and what not, right? So that is the reason you will actually understand that for JEE main, individual topic, the solo topic can help you, can contribute in your success, but when it comes to advance, you really need to focus on a topic which can help you to play with other topics being in the similar thing. Just to give you an example, let me take, let's say acceleration of the particle is a is equal to t minus x. For example, the moment I'll write this expression, and let me frame the further question, I am asking what is the velocity at 1 upon pi second, and during the motion the maximum acceleration is, let's say, 1 meter per second square. So as a layman, what we approach, the moment you will see this expression, you will think let's destroy it using differentiation or integration, isn't it? But unfortunately, the moment you will write the next step, you will come back to the first step again, because it's not leading to any conclusion. Getting my point? If you will write it as dv by dt, you will get nothing. If you will write it as v dv by dx, you will get nothing. What else? So what I'm trying to say, there are certain possibilities where there will be a situation in front of you that might limit you to think about some possible aspect, and that's the beautiful game of JEE Advanced. In JEE Advanced, you can't limit your thought process by seeing this question and you are not thinking behind kinematics. No, you will not be in a position to solve this question. But when you do dA by dt and then dA square by dt square, you will actually understand it's a beautiful simple harmonic motion. So question seems to be with the flavor of kinematics, but actually it falls in the bucket of simple harmonic motion, and that's the beautiful game of JEE Advanced. So what I'm trying to say, that in advance you all should be very much open to welcome all these things, and that's how it will make a contribution to decide which all topics this possible contribution is possible. Similar ways it goes to chemistry, biomolecules, polymers, chemistry in everyday life, and here this topic seems to be absent. Yes or no? Mathematics, 3D geometry, and again this topic seems to be difficult. I might not be very much expert that how this topic is interrelated in this, but as a layman I can't see this similar word representing over here. So what I'm trying to say, that for advanced you really need to understand, you really need to switch your planning, your thought process, your practice, your routine in a way that you focus on a topics which are not limited within them. They are leading to multi-purpose, they are leading to multi-understanding, multi-learnings. Getting my point? So this is what you can understand. So the point is giving high weightage, giving the preference to high weightage topic and considering the same traditional happening in advance could be a myth. It's not the reality. Getting my point? So as I have shown you with some of examples, best material for JEE Advanced, you are at this stage where whatever material you are referring with, maybe you are done with some sort of material whatsoever it is, but as an expert I would say first and foremost thing is whatever material you refer with, continue with this, right? Because there is nothing called that there is a book which is specific for main, there is another book which is specific for advanced. Nothing like this. You need to start building up your concept. Once you are done with the basics, put a beauty of application over it, and let's welcome the questions of JEE Advanced. So whatever material you refer with, continue with this. I would strongly suggest, just to satisfy yourself, take any one book which is of JEE Advanced pattern. I'll not recommend, I'll not name any book over here that you might have that information already, but what I would say that take one book, because there is always a say that before any exam, you wanted to have that feel factor that I am done with this topic. And how that feel factor comes? When material, whatever is being given to you, and one reference book from the market, put together, you get a feel factor that I'm done with this concept in this method, in that method. It's all about how beautifully you explore the multiple questions in JEE Advanced. So that is second thing. Third thing, which is very, very important, focus on quality, not on quantity. Very important thing. Focus on quality. Again, I am saying JEE Advanced is not the exam where somebody is telling you solve these many questions every day, solve entire material, solve this book, solve all the PYQs. It won't work, gentlemen. It won't work. JEE Advanced is a gateway where your deep learning, your peer understanding, and your IQ will definitely help you to make through the questions. It's not how many questions have you done. Getting my point? So it's very important that you focus on quality. For that matter, if you are solving PYQs, it's a very good practice to do the PYQs. But when it comes to advance, your methodology, your style should get changed, especially while dealing with PYQs. For that matter, if you are doing PYQs of physics and you are done with one question, you have solved all the possible options and you got all the options correct. Now you need not to stop over there. You don't need to switch to another question. No. Try to explore the other possibilities from that question. Try to see if the question was framed from angular velocity, can I do it considering angular acceleration? Right? You need to figure out some possible ways so that you are in a process of thinking. You are evolving yourself in a deep thinking process. And that's where the advanced exams ask for. Getting my point? So focus on quality, not on quantity. Right? I'll not even suggest you that you write every day one mock test paper. It won't help you. You can't do that writing paper 1 in morning and paper 2 in evening. When will you get time to charge yourself? When will you get a time to do the error analysis? It's of no use. Right? If you are following that, don't do this. Write only selected mock test paper. Selected mock test paper. But make sure you do the complete analysis of that particular mock test paper. Until unless you have not done 360-degree analysis of that mock test paper in terms of your error analysis, working on your mistakes, and whatsoever is the area you need to improve upon, do not switch to another mock test paper. Again, I am saying advance is not a game of how many questions you are solving, how difficult questions you are solving. It will never ask. It will never seek for such kind of IQ. It will seek that how beautifully you are involved in the deep understanding, in the deep learning. How do you visualize certain things, right? So that's a very, very important thing, that selected mock papers, and that will certainly help you. Now, in the last, I'll tell you, based on the previous year analysis, that, and you can correlate that if you are falling in this particular mark range, what can be the respective ranks for you, right? So let's see. And this will not only help you to build your preparation for the upcoming event, but also will tell you based on your current performance where you can lead at moment, right? So when we talk about JEE Advanced, right? So I'm talking primarily from 1 rank till 10,000 rank, right? So as you talk, the last year cutoff, the one who got the last seat, the gentleman has scored 85 out of 369, right? This will ensure your selection. What I am saying, the previous data which I have shown, that was specifically for IIT. This will ensure your selection in JEE Advanced. Depends which rank, what colleges are you getting based on your choice. This marks has ensured the selection in previous year. When we talk about 10,000 rank, the one who was somewhere at 125 out of 369 was in the rank of 10,000 rank, right? The one who scored 130 marks out of 369 was ranging in 9,000 rank. Whenever you write exam, you commit mistakes. Mistakes are part of life. We all commit mistakes. And for the justification, when your teacher asks that what happened, why did you attempt this question wrongly, you will say, sir, silly mistake. I would say repeat the same line, silly mistake after seeing this data. Whenever you will attempt a question wrongly, will you lose 1 marks? No, you will lose 5 marks. Yes, 5 marks. If you would have attempted that question correctly, you would have landed at 130 marks, but unfortunately you could not. So you are at 125 marks now. 125 marks, it means 1 question wrongly attempted. And 1 question wrongly attempted has pushed you in 1000 rank. Yes, it means attempted 1 question wrongly is equivalent to getting a shift in 1000 rank in JEE Advanced. What if the person who has scored 85 might have attempted the same thing? So which score he would lead? Tell me, if a person who has scored 85 marks has attempted 1 question wrongly, he will land at 80 marks, isn't it? He is absolutely out of the competition. Despite having such a beautiful score, and just by not controlling his or her emotions, for the last question, he or she is out of the competition now. So first thing you need to understand that this exam is already a low scoring exam. It's a low scoring exam. It's not like in JEE Main you should target 250, 260, 270, or for that matter NEET. It's a fight of 700, 710, 720 out of 720. This exam is entirely different. This exam is not a game of high score. This exam is a game of accuracy. Right? And you see, it's a low scoring exam. And I have told you a data where someone who is landing at 9000 rank, if he or she commit a mistake, will land at 10,000 rank. So next time when you say to your teacher, sir, I have attempted a silly mistake, remember this conversation. Or maybe as a teacher, if somebody is telling you that, you know, I have attempted a silly mistake, tell them how it will result. A silly mistake can result, can push him or her out of the competition, right? 8000 rank, you see there is a very slight variation. So with this mark range, you can see that how many students are fighting for 1 seat. You can see here, for 1 seat, there are 312 students, those who are competing with each other, right? Here for 1 seat, in this mark range, in this rank range, for 1 seat, there are 238 students, those who are fighting. So you need to understand that which peer group you belongs to, right? This will help you, this will give you a very transparent picture that what mark range you are looking for, what mark range you are at moment, and where it will lead finally in terms of rank, right? When it comes to 7000 to 6000, you can keep watching this 139, 146, 153, a very slight variation, and you see the sudden change happening in the ranks. 4000 rank somewhere 160 marks, 174 marks, 3000 rank 186 marks, 369, almost 50%, 209, 1000 rank, and the one who scored last year 349 out of 369 has scored All India rank 1. This will help you to understand 2 things. 1, marks, what corresponding rank it would be, and second, at one particular seat in this mark range, in this rank range, what is the peer competition, right? This is very important for each one of you. Other than, you know, getting this information, as I said, that this is something which you should definitely look forward, right? This is very important, that having a fair knowledge of pattern of the question, types of question, negative marking and everything, this is something which is very important. Now you have to switch your entire day schedule, your thinking, your practice, the amount of time which you spend in studies, whatever types of question you were solving so far, you need to replace all those questions by inviting these many questions if you are exclusively preparing for JEE Advanced, right? But as I said, having this factor and knowing that what are the weightage of topics, what are the topics which could be the hot cake for you, right? It is equally important for you to understand that where I would lead, right? So in this session, I have tried explaining you about the JEE Advanced, how it is different from JEE Main, what are the types of question, what is the pattern of question, what has been the cutoff in previous years, and also I have tried giving you a very data specific approach that if you are particularly working at this mark range, where would you lead in terms of your all India rank, right? So I believe this understanding, this session will help you to bring out a plan, to make a plan which will eventually help you to proceed further, that either you will go ahead with JEE Main preparation for some time and then eventually you pick your JEE Advanced, or if you are at a good score and having an exclusive preparation for JEE Advanced, this is the strategy which I want, right? So thank you so very much for joining with